All right, hello. Today I'll be interviewing Jeff Davis. Jeff, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
You bet. A pleasure to be with Sean. My name is Jeff Davis, and I was the angel investor and eventual president and CEO of Orabrush Inc.
All right. And so with our first question, I have, can you talk about the origins of Orabrush and how you came upon the idea? What problems does the brush solve?
Yes. So the origins are I think it was 75-year-old Dr. Bob Wagstaff at the time had created a better way to clean your tongue. Most people don't understand that 90% of bad breath comes from bacteria on your tongue. And so Bob had created and patented a device that had these pointed bristles and then this scraper where you could dislodge the bacteria in your tongue and then scrape it off. He patented it, then tried to license it to Johnson & Johnson. They didn't want it. Tried to sell it to Procter & Gamble. They didn't want it. So then he tried to do an infomercial and did an infomercial and spent a lot of money, didn't sell anything. And then he met these two young guys going to Brigham Young University, Jeff Harmon and Neil Harmon, and they created this video for YouTube and began to show the video and then drive people to orabrush.com. And they began to sell these tongue brushes online. It was the early days of e-commerce. And I met them probably after they'd only sold, I don't know, probably $10,000 or $20,000, which is quite a bit of $5 tongue brushes. Yeah. But they really needed some help. They needed some money. They needed some guidance. And so I met with them. And another gentleman and I, Mike Leventhal, became the angel investors. So we put some money into the company, created a board, created a new corporation with the new funding, and began to really see where we could go with this thing. And it got more and more interesting, and then we knew we really needed someone to run it. So I decided to come in and run it. Left the University of Utah where I was teaching and decided to run it.
Gotcha. Now, are you a Utah alumni? I'm just curious.
I am. Yep.
All right. Awesome.
Yep. Graduated in marketing and in German literature.
That's right. All right. So our next question is going to be, so how does the brush differ and create more value or new value for its customers as compared to its competitors?
Very good. Yeah. So the competitor at the time, tongue cleaning, while we really were creating a new category, tongue cleaning at the time was not new. In fact, in India, they clean their tongue more than they brush their teeth because they understand the principle that most of the bacteria in your mouth is on your tongue. And they have various different kinds of just scrapers and just a wire thing that you kind of put in your mouth and scrape. And the US version was a company called Dentec Oral Care. And it basically was just a scraper. So it was just this kind of a triangle thing that had just a scraper, and you just scrape it. So the unique part that Dr. Bob went after was that when you just scrape it, you don't get all of the bacteria that's lodged deep in the crevices of the tongue, because the tongue is a very porous and uneven organ. And so he created these tiny pointed bristles that, you'd rake your tongue, and then once you dislodged all the bacteria, then you'd scrape it. And that's what made it, that was the POD, or the point of difference, versus the Dentec device. It was a much better because of the pointed bristles and the device and the scraper.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So for a third question is, how did you go about pricing the brush, and how does that price relate to similar products?
Yeah, it's another really good question. Interesting part of the story, because Dentec was priced at $2.99 at retail in Walmart, for example, and we went out online at $4.99. And so then we gathered this huge following and sold a lot of brushes at $4.99, almost double the price of the Dentec device. And so then when we went into Walmart to sell the product, they said, it needs to be priced at $2.99. We said, no. Here's thousands of people that have bought online at a much higher price. Why would you want to drop the price? Take a higher margin. We know we can drive traffic in to buy it at Walmart at this higher price. So we, again, went out very, very Procter & Gamble-like in terms of creating points of difference, points of value, and a unique selling proposition that was better than Dentec. and therefore went out at Walmart at $4.99, $4.47. I think they went out at $4.47. And to this date, it's still being sold there. I mean, 7 years later at $4.47, the price never dropped, and became the #1 tongue cleaner in Walmart, and became the #1 tongue cleaner in the world.
So you were able to talk down Walmart. That's pretty
Yeah.
impressive. Usually they control the price
Exactly.
on smaller companies especially.
Yep, exactly. But we really had a lot of data, to show them. I mean, again, I'm trying to think. We had millions. We had $1 million sold online at the higher price.
Mhm.
So we really had a good point of reference and a piece of data for them to say, well, gee, why don't we sell it for more?
Gotcha.
So
That's really cool. All right. Can you talk about the different tactics you used in distribution and what you utilized to make Orabrush so successful?
Yep. So again, this was really unique at the time we did it. Most products were being sold at retail. E-commerce was a burgeoning, brand new channel. And we began to talk about online to offline, which is launch first online, create these communities, create awareness, do testing, and then eventually go offline to retail. So that's exactly what we did. We built an initial business online in the millions of dollars, and then went to retail, where many people were asking for our product. And that's the amazing part of the story, is so many people were seeing the YouTube videos that they were going into retailers and asking them, hey, where can we pick this up? And the cool part about it is the online to offline strategy. So we were online at orabrush.com, and then eventually Amazon. We later went on to Amazon. But we then were in all of the major retailers: Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target. And we eventually went to 25 different countries, 30,000 retail outlets. I mean, it's an amazing story for distribution, all driven by just YouTube advertising.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
All right. What financial decisions did you make that ended up being pivotal to Orabrush's success?
Yeah, I would say financially, we almost ran out of money 3 times. I was the angel investor. I helped them secure a Series A funding round, so we had a venture capitalist that came in. We raised almost $5 million. And even with all of that effort, financially, we made a huge mistake by believing we were going to get into Walmart earlier than we did. And so we placed a bunch of our capital, our working capital, our cash. We bought inventory because we knew we were going to need a lot of inventory to supply Walmart. So we took all of our cash, bought up all that inventory, and then Walmart didn't take us on until the next cycle, which was almost 6 months later. And the company had no money, and we almost ran ourselves into the ground. We had to go raise an additional amount of money. I ended up putting some money in myself to the company. Crucial financial decisions. It's when you don't realize how important it is to manage cash in a startup. Because they say cash is king, and that's absolutely true. When you're trying to manage that in a startup, critically important.
What was the profit margin on these brushes?
So we had actually a very healthy profit margin. Good question. We had almost a 70% profit margin. Nice. If you think about, again, $4.99, we were producing them for $1, less than $1. Mm-hmm. So we had a very healthy gross margin, 70% gross margin, which enabled us to spend some of that gross margin back in advertising, creating awareness for people to buy it online or in the stores.
Gotcha. Well, before you were introduced and inside of Walmart, how many units were you selling a month, would you say?
We were, as I think about it, can't remember exactly how many units we were selling, but obviously when we got into Walmart, things dramatically changed. It doubled the size of the company in less than a month.
All right. So. In what ways does Orabrush adjust, grow, and adapt to the market? How do they stay above the game?
Yeah. Well, I would say that in the digital internet space, it's changing so much. Even today, my media group that's in Salt Lake City, we're on the 14th or 15th beta of YouTube advertising, right? Just so many different changes. So one of the things we did, we continued to do very unique things on creating content. I showed a little bit of that to you today, where we created these sustain and engage videos. I mean, no one was doing that at the time. So we were cultivating this community of people that were watching our content, learning about our brand, telling other people about it. And then we were also really spending a lot of time. I mean, I had 3 or 4 people that were spending a lot of time learning the AdWords interface with YouTube, and just really learning how to do that, and doing it better than anyone else. And I would say the third thing, which was important, was we learned how to distribute the product at a very low cost in the early days of e-commerce. I think I showed you that, where Dentech couldn't really ship the product for e-commerce purposes. They were losing money, and we were making money.
Gotcha. So, like, what is Orabrush up to right now? Do you know?
Yes, just in terms of size, you mean?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know for sure. I mean, when we sold it, we sold it for $10 million plus an earnout. It was doing about $5 million at the time, so that was, a 2x multiple when we sold it, which is pretty common for a consumer packaged goods product. But I would suspect it's got to be around 10 million. It's probably doubled since I sold it. Yeah, because they had a lot more ability to take it to additional retailers. And
are any of the original team still working with it?
No, the entire group is. When Dentech acquired it, the entire group. Some of them stayed with me when we started at Molio, and then the others went off and did their own thing. And then Prestige, another company, bought Dentech. So
gotcha.
no one's even working with it anymore. But importantly, it still has all the original branding. They're still running some of the original videos we produced 7 years ago. They're still running those. So it's kind of really rewarding in that sense.
Okay. And then we have, what are some of the company's key resources, and how do you go about managing them?
Yeah, so I would say, Sean, this is the case for every business I've run. Big businesses at P&G or small businesses, your most important resource is people. And it sounds like a cliche, but when you have people that don't know how to work together, or you have people that are arrogant, or you have people that are, like drama and create drama, you can't build a business if you have those kinds of people. So when you have the opposite, people that have a great attitude, they come to work and want to learn, they're not arrogant, you can really build an important business. So I'd say, most important resource in an entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur type company, people and cash. You need cash and you need people. Those are the two most important resources. And ideas, but the ideas come from the people.
Okay. And then we have 2 more questions. And so, can you speak to some of the governance choices you made within the company, how they were effective or not effective?
Yeah. So as we were a venture-backed company, so we had very proper governance. Once you become venture-backed, there are certain covenants and restrictions that you have. We set up a board of directors. The board was in charge of strategy and authorizing budgets. The lead investor, True Ventures, was the chairman of the board. And then Bob Wagstaff, the original 74-year-old Dr. Bob, he was the chairman of the board technically, although the lead investor had the most influence for sure. I was on the board as the CEO. And so we had governance. We had a monthly board meeting. We had to authorize an annual budget, and then we had to, any major personnel changes, we had to review that with the board. But the board really performed all the governance for the company.
All right. And then just in final, what's some advice that you would give to young and future entrepreneurs when starting a business?
Yeah, I would say, so I think it was, I'm trying to remember now, Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel was one of the original investors in Facebook. He's good friends with Elon Musk. He wrote a book called One. It's really, really great book on entrepreneurship. And it's called 0 to 1, 0 to 1. And in that book, he said the most important decision you make when starting a company is whom you start it with. So it goes back to what you and I talked about. And I can tell you that's the case. In my first company, the young guys that we worked with, we were really, we were good for each other, because I was this, old traditional marketing guy. These guys didn't even know old traditional marketing, so they were just these young guys that were learning on YouTube. But it was a difficult relationship that we had together. And I think that we did not maximize the value of the company because we weren't always on the same page together. The investors and I had a belief on how it should go. The young guys, the young founders wanted to go in a different direction. And so I think I love Peter Thiel's advice. The most important decision you make in starting a company is whom you start it with. Finance-wise or partner-wise or co-founder-wise.
Okay. Well, awesome. Well, that's all my questions for today. I want to thank you for letting me interview you. For any of those watching, I guess just check out Orabrush.
Thank you.